Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Urban Update. I'm Byron Barnett. The Emerging Leaders Program at the Center for Leadership at UMass Boston identifies and develops future leaders for the greater Boston region who reflect the changing demographics of our city. Joining me this morning to give us an in-depth look at this new world famous program are Lisa Deangelis. She's the director of the Center for Collaborative Leadership at UMass Boston. Joanna Starella, she's the Chief Financial Officer for the Massachusetts Convention Center Authority, and Dr. Keith Motley, who is Chancellor of the University of Massachusetts, Boston. Also joining us is Craig Williams. He is Chief Operating Officer at Tufts Medical Center Physicians Organization. Welcome to Urban Update, everyone. Thanks for coming in. Great. Lisa, let me start with you as director of this program. Tell me about what the Emerging Leaders Program is and its mission.
It's really bringing together individuals, rising leaders from the three different sectors, from nonprofit, for-profit, and government sectors, to come and learn about a new leadership model, which is the collaborative leadership model, bringing many voices and many minds to the table to engage in the thinking on how you move forward.
And how does it work? How do the leaders, the folks in the program, how do they collaborate and what do they do?
There's a 10-month program that they go through, which is both skills training, learning new skills about being a leader, such as negotiation and risk-taking, hearing from Path to Leader speakers, like Chancellor Motley, and working on civic projects that really do impact the city of Boston. Okay.
Now, Joanna Starella, you are an Emerging Leader alum. Talk to me about your involvement in this program. How did you get involved and what did you do?
The Massachusetts Convention Center Authority has been nominating people for the past 7 years. And as an alum, you get to nominate the next person that can go in for the next class. And so I was involved because the 5 people who went before me thought that I would benefit from the leadership program, and they nominated me to the program.
Well, that's great. And what about you, Craig Williams? You're another alum. Talk to me about your involvement.
I was pretty much the same way. I was chosen as sort of an honor in the company I was at the time to say, you know, you're doing a really good job. Here's an opportunity to develop your skills a little bit more and learn some new things and kind of expand your network. And so it was really seen as an honor at the organization I was at the time. Okay.
Dr. Keith Motley, Chancellor at UMass Boston, I guess, what does this program bring to UMass Boston? When you're sitting up high above in your Chancellor's chair, talk to me about the value of this program. You've had it 10 years now.
Well, it's a tremendous value. Across this city, there are 400 plus individuals who are just growing as leaders across sectors that have learned on our campus to be collaborative, they've learned to work on projects across the dimensions of thinking and learning, and have come to love Boston's public university, University of Massachusetts, Boston. Our mission mandates that we in this city work with the city, with those organizations in the city to help them develop and to be the best that they can to contribute to this Commonwealth and beyond. And so when we have such talented individuals who say yes to us and they come together in a learning environment, one that sustains itself beyond the period of time that they're on the campus, I must add. I run into these leaders all over the place. Not only am I proud of them in their workplace, but they come up to me very proud to have been part of this program. Then that's what this university is about. Providing that kind of access, providing that type of learning opportunity, providing the kind of opportunity for success that these leaders around me represent. I'm just so happy to be in their presence tonight.
Well, now, Lisa Deangelis, what was the thinking behind creating this program? The director, why is a program like this needed to cultivate leaders?
When Dr. Sherry Penny was stepping down as the Chancellor, retiring from that position, she really looked around and looked at the research and said, this is no longer the leadership model that's needed, the hero model that says there's one great person at the top of a company who understands how to run the company. That there's a different way to do things, that you need to bring a broader constituency of people together to understand the problem and to be able to address it in a very different manner. And so she really wanted to go about creating a program that brought together the different sectors and folks from different backgrounds to think about management and leadership differently.
Okay, we're going to take a pause. You're going to come back, and we're going to talk more about the Emerging Leaders Program. I'd like to hear about some of the projects our alums have been involved here. We'll have more information about the Center for Collaborative Leadership and its Emerging Leaders Program when Urban Update returns. Stay with us. We'll be right back. On November 5th, the UMass Boston Emerging Leaders Program hosted a 10th anniversary gala where more than 350 guests and dignitaries celebrated the founding members of the advisory board and honored the 2011 Emerging Leaders Fellows. Welcome back with our panel here talking about the Emerging Leaders Program at UMass Boston. Joanna Starella, one of the Emerging Leaders alums, working on with all of these must have been very interesting people, other leaders collaborating on projects. Talk to me about the project that you worked on and what you feel you accomplished.
Okay. The project that I worked on with 7 other members of my cohort was about all the various homeless organizations, nonprofits that are in the Boston area.
And again, I just want to stop you. We're talking about these other emerging leaders, members of the program, people from all backgrounds, various businesses and disciplines and so forth, working on a real project for the city. Go ahead.
Yes, our project was sponsored by Bank of New York Mellon's Charitable Foundation. They were trying to examine how best to give their dollars to these different types of nonprofits, and I had somebody from Blue Cross Blue Shield, somebody from Eastern Bank, and myself, so all across the different sectors working on this project. And basically we were evaluating how all of these various nonprofits that provide very specific, detailed help to all of the homeless population in the Boston area could work more collaboratively together and support each other in initiatives to help people move them off the street through the shelter program, through living on their own and getting jobs. And we made our recommendation to the mayor, and we found out concurrently that the Boston Foundation was also working on a very similar project and released very similar findings to us. And a lot of the federal grants have moved to making sure that there is somebody in all stages of the homeless organization's population to help them along the way to move them off the streets and into jobs.
So you made an impact.
I believe so. We did, yeah.
Lisa Deangelis. So these are real projects. I mean, they're making recommendations, presenting them to the mayor of Boston, Mayor Tom Menino. That's pretty heavy-duty stuff.
It's wonderful. In addition to the mayor's office, which has been involved for all 10 years and has taken great strides to move forward with the projects beyond the program, we also have stakeholders in the room who are looking at these projects and saying, how can we take something on and continue the momentum with it?
And again, who are these people? They're all professionals from different disciplines, just like Joanna and Craig here?
Absolutely. These are rising professionals against each of those different sectors that we talked about, the profit, nonprofit, and government, who are recognized by their organization as someone that they want to invest in as a current and future leader. Okay.
Now, Craig Williams, talk to me about the project you worked on in the program.
Sure. The project we focused on, the theme for that year was why do young people stay in Boston? At the time, there was a study around how young people were leaving the city. We really tried to focus on projects that would sort of engage young people in the city to stay in the city and make it sort of a lifetime choice for them. Our particular project was focused on internships, and as college students were transitioning out of college and into their careers, how we could engage them in a broader way so they would experience more of the city and they would have connection to the city, not just to their university or the employer they were working with. The amazing thing for me was that, I was working with people on the project that were involved in financial services. I'm involved in healthcare. We had people working in really small nonprofits. And just be able to see them working on a project in action, how they would make different decisions based on the backgrounds they were coming from, was a really powerful learning experience for me, because it really helped to shape just the understanding of that people bring a different background to the table, and that really adds to the end goal. And I think that's something we really saw in our project, and at the end, it seemed to be something that the mayor was really interested in and actually assigned some staff from his office to work on carrying the project forward.
Dr. Motley, it sounds like this program is really these leaders, these emerging leaders, are actually making an impact and a contribution to the city.
Tremendous contribution. You know, the mayor is a proud alum of the University of Massachusetts, Boston, and he's very smart. Smart enough to know that over 400 talented people that have come through this program are the types of individuals he should sit down and really listen to, and then use some of what he's learned from that experience and really, give it back to the city in a way that he's been able to do over his tenure here as a leader. We're just so proud of all of the contributions and the thinking that I think that Dr. Sherry Penny brought to this from the very beginning. I'm so proud that she was able to not only begin this program, but to be honored at the 10th anniversary as someone who founded it with one of our leadership awards for all that she's done to make this program the fantastic initiative that it is.
Okay, we're going to take another pause. You come back, we're going to have more conversation about the Emerging Leaders Program at UMass Boston. Stay with us, we'll be right back. And we're back talking about the Emerging Leaders Program at UMass Boston. We have a couple of alums here from the program who've been talking about some really exciting projects they've accomplished with their colleagues in this really amazing program, identifying and really cultivating emerging leaders in Boston. Craig Williams, one of the alums, what has this experience meant to you, done for you, impacted the way you manage your career going forward?
Yeah, I tell people that it was really a life-changing event for me. You know, during the program, I was a little bit struggling where I was in my career, and you know, you go to this program on a monthly basis, and you see these incredible leaders from all across the city, the top CEOs across the city of Boston, and they talk about their path of leadership. And you would think these people would just take this straight line path right to the top. And when I listened to their stories, it would be these long circular routes that they sort of made the right decision at the right time and ended up in the position they were in. And to me, that was just a hugely powerful story to hear, and really kind of gave me hope and helped me kind of move forward in my career. I think now what it really brings for me is the network of people that have been involved in the program. If I call someone on the phone that I don't know that's involved in the program and I mention emerging leaders, they always take my call. It really opens up doors, and you know, we still get together with the cohort I was in. We get together on almost every other month, get back together, spend time with each other's family. So it not only has it created professional connections for me, but also personal connections that really I think will last for the rest of my life.
Joanna Storella, what about you? How has this really impacted your career and your approach to business and everything else?
I would have to say it's the breadth of people that you get to meet. There are 4 generations of leaders out there right now, and through this program we got to meet people who are getting ready to retire but have been through all that experience and were able to share their life experiences with us. Plus then all of the people as a government employee getting to meet people who are going to be future leaders in the corporate sector and how they deal with problems, and understanding how each different generation level of leader acts and reacts was really helpful for me to understand me. And I got to listen to Marsh Carter's story, and then at the same respect I got to listen to Joe Bader's story, one of my friends from my cohort.
And these are people you never would have met otherwise.
Never would have met otherwise.
Dr. Motley, I guess what does it take to make a good leader in this city? You know, we used to have I think they called it the vault. You know, the people who make all the decisions, a little small group of people. What does it take to make a good leader in this city?
Well, first of all, it takes someone who has all the attributes that those leaders that you mentioned earlier have. They're highly intelligent. They're people that are really go-getters. But I think the added ingredient is when you understand how to impact your network and you have a value system that connects with the very kind of projects and or thinking that needs to come into perspective as you're developing in this city. I think those things make a difference. So the collaborative strategy, the fact that you can sit down and you may start on opposite ends or polar ends of the conversation, but in the center, it's all about whatever that is. So it might have been about connecting people to Boston. It may be about students and their development. It may be about who to give the philanthropic money to and why. But at the end of the day, we can talk about that, we can decide that, and we can move that forward. That's the power of this collaborative leadership strategy. We're so grateful to Dr. Sherry Penny, to George Russell and Marsh Carter, who she came to in the very beginning, and all those who have stood with us over the last 10 years to help make this one of the greatest programs that this university has, but that this city can claim at this time in our history.
Now, Lisa Deangelis, what about the future? Where do you see, 10 years you've had the program going, where do you see it going in the future?
With 426 alumni now, we need to start thinking about what skills and talents do they need now in their career. So we have folks who have left the program 10 years ago. They're in very different places in their career, and we need to be able to be that resource for them. So we're going to be doing much more around alumni programming for the folks who've been through the program. We're also going to be looking at how do we begin to branch out internationally. And what does that mean? Because it is a global world that we live in, and how do we start to interact and react in a way that really brings everyone together around the globe?
That's really amazing. What are some of the projects that you're working on this year, or some of the more significant projects that you've been working on for the city?
The one that came out of this year that probably got the most notoriety was the Milton Race and Place Dialogues, where one project team worked with the city of Milton, with the town of Milton, to create a forum, to create a place where folks could understand the history of racial issues in that town, and to be able to talk about it in a way that can bring them to a better place and to a new place. So they've done a bunch of work on their own. Bringing in the Emerging Leaders program really helped them do it in a much more collaborative way.
Now, I didn't point out that you're the director, but you're also an alum of the Emerging Leaders program.
I am.
I was ready to point that out.
I guess from your personal experience, I guess what would you like to say about the value of this program? What the value to yourself, the value to your colleagues, the value to the city of Boston, the university?
Yeah, I think first and foremost to reflect on what Craig has said. This was life-changing for me. I met folks through the program, whether they be the leaders who spoke in the program or my peers in the program, who I never would have met otherwise and have stayed connected to since. The alumni network is very tight. You can reach and pick up the phone, as I did for this, and get folks here to do the program. To the city, it has meant so many things in terms of launching and thinking about what can be done in a very different way.
And finally, very, very quickly here, when you think about the sweeping demographic changes that are taking place in our nation now, how does that play into what you're trying to do, considering the past leadership that we've had in the city, the vault of a small group of guys running everything?
Absolutely. Well, in the beginning of this program, that was the first time we were a majority-minority city, was in 2000. And that was when Sherry said, we need to do something now if we're going to start impacting that change. We need to make sure that a very broad, diverse group of folks have that opportunity. And how do we make that happen? And we continue to make it happen on a daily basis. Okay, and we'll leave it right there. Lisa Deangelis, Dr. Keith Motley, Craig Williams, Joanna Storella, thank you all for coming in, and congratulations on 10 years with the Emerging Leaders program, and good luck on many more years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we are all given a finite number of days in life, and being diagnosed with a terminal illness makes each day that much more precious. My next guest teaches us that life is truly what you make it. When Urban Update returns, stay with us. We'll be right back. Well, in his early 30s, Steve Mazon was diagnosed with an incurable form of cancer that spread to his liver. Doctors told him he might have only 5 years to live. So Steve dedicated himself to making his ultimate dream come true. He recounts his journey in his book and his documentary film entitled Dying to Do Letterman. Joining me via Skype from Los Angeles is Steve Mazon. Steve, welcome to Urban Update. Thanks for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me, Byron. I appreciate it.
Okay, talk to me about what was your dream and how did your illness impact what you decided to do about it?
Yeah, my dream since I was 12 years old was to perform comedy on the Late Show with David Letterman. It wasn't called the Late Show at that point, but when I saw Letterman's old show, I knew I wanted to be a comedian and perform on his stage. And I actually became a comedian and was making a living at it full time until 2005. I got a diagnosis that I had cancer in a couple places in my intestines and my liver, and some of it was so severe they said that worst case scenario you might only have 5 years to live. So Obviously, that was a big blow, but after picking up the pieces, I asked myself, if that's true, well, how do I want to spend this time? And one of the big things I wanted to make happen was that dream to get on Letterman. And even though I was making a living as a comedian, I was kind of waiting for it. So once I got that diagnosis, I realized you keep saying someday you're going to be on Letterman. What if you're not around when someday happens? So I set out to make it happen.
And what happened when you contacted Steve Letterman that first time? Did he?
Yeah,
did he let you on the show?
Yeah, well, strangely enough, I started a website called Dying to Do Letterman, where people could watch my comedy and contact Dave for me and say, this guy's good enough. And that got me a letter from the show. I was excited. It had the Letterman logo and everything on it, but it said, you will not be on the show. It's impossible to put you on. And so that was a big blow. And I thought I might have ruined any chance I had to get on the show. But
you said they thought this was some sort of a Make-A-Wish type thing. They felt sorry for you because you were sick, but sorry, buddy. We need real comedians.
Right, we're not going to put just anyone on just because they're sick. And again, I wasn't asking them to put me on because I was sick. I was asking them to take a look at me a little earlier than they might have. And so then I just had to go set out proving to them that I was a good enough comedian to be on the show. So I started, dropping loads of DVDs to them over and over to prove that I was a comic and that I was good enough.
And you went out and really started to hit the clubs. You were playing the clubs, really trying to build up your resume and perfect your comedy, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Just, as I got feedback on some of the DVDs, like what they were looking for, what they weren't looking for, I just tried to tighten it and, perfect my act in a way that would be conducive to what they were looking for. But at the same time, doing, the kind of humor that I wanted to do and that I thought was funny.
And you even played some clubs over in Iraq and,
that's right.
Almost got yourself killed.
That's right. I wouldn't call them clubs, but we did many shows. I mean, some like on the back of flatbed trucks, some on a tank. Anywhere that we could, we did shows for the troops. And one time there was a huge explosion from some insurgents had thrown a explosive on an ammo dump, and it was huge. It was gigantic. And you were talking about. Cancer already was making me thinking about the end of my life, but that was another time where I thought, well, this might be it. It was pretty scary.
Now, you did make it to Letterman, didn't you, eventually?
Yeah, I did. My original goal was to make it on in a year. It actually took me almost 5 years, which, was my original diagnosis. So the two happy endings are that, A, I did make it eventually onto Letterman. I proved them that I was good enough. And two, it's been past 5 years for my diagnosis, and I'm still here. So
that's great. Well, and I noticed you have a motto. Your motto is, Steve's motto, live your dream or die trying. Talk to me about your motto and your thoughts about it.
Yeah, well, listen, one of the nice things this selfish dream has kind of opened up for me is it's been a wake-up call for me that none of us have as much time as we think we have. And you realize when you're told something like that, it ends up not being how much time you have, but what you do with that time. And all of us should be living their dream because, listen, we all have the same diagnosis I have. Maybe not 5 years, but we're all going to die. And you need to ask yourself, are you doing what you want to be doing? Because, it might be a car accident or anything else that might take you away a little sooner than you think. So you need to be living your dream every day.
Now, when you finally did make Letterman, what was that like, being on David Letterman, excuse me? And also, after you achieved your dream, I mean, what did that do to you? I mean, was it all over? I mean, is there anything else to try for?
Yeah, no. There's a lot. That's been the great thing is it ended up being even better than I expected. I ended up having a great set on the show. People could look it up on YouTube, Steve Mazon Letterman. And I ended up having a great set. I got to meet Dave. They taped it on a Monday, but it didn't air till Friday, so I almost had a whole Letterman week to enjoy it. It was amazing. And the great thing is, ever since I put up the original website to start this project, the dyingtodoletterman.com, that's now the website for a documentary and a book that we have about it, people have reached out to me and said they were inspired by the story and they've started chasing their own dreams. So it's been great that I've had this chance to inspire others, and I think the world's a better place when people are chasing their dreams. So that's my new goal, is to share the story with as many people as possible. And
in our remaining moments here, real quickly, I guess, what message do you want people to take away from your book or from seeing your documentary?
Yeah, the big thing is, again, it's not how much time you have, it's what you do with it. And before you go to bed tonight, everyone should ask themselves, what am I dying to do? I was dying to do Letterman, but everyone else should know what they're dying to do, because then you know what you're living for.
Okay, and we'll leave it right there. The book is Dying to Do Letterman, and the documentary as well. The author is Steve Mazon. Congratulations, Steve, on living the dream. Okay.
Thanks, Byron. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, that's it for this edition of Urban Update. If you'd like more information about our program, you can go to WHDH.com and click on Urban Update. I'd like to thank my guests for coming in, and as always, thank you for watching. Until next week, I'm Byron Barnett for Urban Update. Have a great Sunday, everyone.